In the summer of 1886, the snowstorms began. Crops failed, people starved, millions fled south. They met only chaos, famine, and death. In the farthest reaches of the resource-rich north, the British Empire began construction on heat-bearing generators where a chosen few could survive, but they ran out of time. An apocalyptic ice storm came from the north, devouring everything in its path. Some survivors managed to cross the seas and reach the site of a generator, only to find it frozen solid. The generator was designed to power a city capable of weathering the end of the world. It falls on us to build that city, and so New London is established. Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm doing a full solo playthrough of Frostpunk, the board game. We're going to be trying to survive in a frozen, post-apocalyptic, alternative history 19th century where advanced steam technology has created these giant heat generators that are allowing civilization to survive in inhospitable conditions. Now, I've got everything set up for the scenario, a new home crater, which is recommended for your first game. Now, this game is massive with a ton of setup. I've put all the critical stuff here on the board. There's a bunch of components that are off screen. I'll just grab them when we need them. But here we have the board. We have resources on 3 random corners. So here in the north and the south, we randomly got some coal reserves. And over here in the northwest, we have a wood reserve. In the other 3 empty corners, we flip over random tiles, and I've populated them with resources. And of course, we have our generator tile here in the middle, with 5 wood over here, 5 coal right there. You can't really see it because it's being blocked by this massive generator, but we have a cookhouse building here in the north. And then we have 2 buildings printed on either side of the generator. I'll be explaining all that once we get started. Now we get to pick our society, and I've gone with Society 2 on a normal difficulty. Each society has a different population, different starting resources. You can see here we're starting with 6 food, 6 wood, 8 coal, and 1 steam core. We also have 1 corpse. We also have 2 discontent tokens and 3 hope tokens. And the /0 means that they are put onto their deactivated side. So you can think of this as like discontent and hope sort of bubbling underneath the surface, just ready to activate. We then have our population, so it shows we have 13 workers, none of which are sick, 13 engineers, none of which are sick, and 4 children, also no sickness, and we don't start with an automaton. All of this is tracked up here on this board, and you can see, based on where our population is, that's going to define how many meeples we get. So for the children, we're only going to have 1 meeple, but for the workers and the engineers, we're going to have 3 each. At the bottom there, we don't start with any hunger, and the reason we have 12 food is we start with 6, and out here on the board, we found 2 reserves of 3 food each. So we track that there. We're going to be starting with 12 food. Let's read a little bit about our society. The HMS Last Hope has been our home for many weeks. We smashed through the ice crust that covered the bay using the power of steam and a reinforced prow. We've made it quite far into the bay, reaching our destination without much trouble. The generator works. We have steam technology from the ship, sufficient resources, and healthy people. Our spirits are high. Yeah, I really like Society 2. They have fewer people, so we have fewer meeples, and we're going to be using these meeples to take actions. So we are going to get fewer actions, but it also means we have fewer people that need housing, fewer people to feed, and a good amount of starting resources. So I don't know, I find Society 2 to be a little bit easier to start with than Society 1. Now we've randomized all the other things that need to be randomized. There's a lot of variables set up. We have our 4 random technologies that we can research during the game. I'll go over these later. And we have a couple other things that we need to do. First, we have to set our dusk deck. You always start with the inevitable card. And then you're going to add 1 social dispute card. And you get to look at it so you can prepare for what might be coming up. As you can see, we're going to be dealing with distrust. We have to distrust each other. It's our only defense against betrayal. So I won't go over this completely now, but essentially we want to have more hope tokens than discontent tokens when this triggers. And at the start of the game, we have that, so we're in pretty good position. We just need to shuffle that up. And the last thing we need to do is take our 7 randomly drawn citizen cards, and we need to discard one of them. And once again, we're not going to go over all these. I like having these with the children. That lets us use the children meeples to take actions when normally we can't. Without going into it too much now, I think we'll just discard this one. And we have to suffer this penalty. It says spend 1 coal. But we start with 8, so that shouldn't be a problem. We get to keep the rest of the 6 remaining cards, and we can use those later in the game. Okay, I think that's enough setup. Let's just jump right in and start playing. I will explain the rules as we go, as I always do. Are we alone? Civilization has fallen. We, the survivors, traveled in a convoy that split into several groups to increase the chances of reaching a functional generator. Our group succeeded. What fate has befallen the others? Lighting up a signal to guide the lost souls will help answer that question. All right, so our scenario shows us here that we need to put a little marker in the 4th round. It says, if the beacon is built, go to A, otherwise go to B. So our first objective is to light this beacon. The beacon is right there on our sort of construction board, and it shows there it costs 3 wood to build. So that's kind of our short-term goal. Now, at the beginning of the game, you jump right into the action phase. We're going to be tracking our phases here on this card. But we get to start right in the meat of it, where we just get to use our meeples to take actions. We got a bunch of actions that we can choose from. But before we start taking actions, let's go over the concept of warm versus cold actions, because this is critical to the game. Over here on our generator tracker, you can see that we have no heat coming from the generator at all. This blue marker is representing sort of the temperature outside, and these markers here are showing the 3 different types of building that are delineated by color: red, orange, and yellow. And those represent the insulation level of these buildings. So the red buildings are the most insulated, the most easy to keep warm. Orange in the middle, yellow are the worst, the hardest to heat. And then we also have these 3 markers there, which are showing the 3 different distances away from the central generator. So this is the generator tile itself. These are the tiles adjacent to the central generator tile, and these are the outside tiles, furthest away from the generator. And obviously, the further away you get out from the generator, the harder it is to heat. Now, essentially, at any time, we can spend a coal, feed it into the generator just by discarding it, and add a little heat. So now that we've done that, because the heat marker is beyond these red houses and that generator tile, any action that we take in a red building or any colored building on this central generator tile will be heated. That's important because if you take a cold action with one of your workers, that type of worker is going to get sick. And managing sickness in this game is a huge deal. I think I'm going to go ahead and spend another coal to increase that even one more step. Now, any red or orange building will be heated, as well as any action taken in this sort of inner row adjacent to the central tile. That should be enough heat for now, but again, at any time really, we can add coal to this and increase the heat. Now that things are nice and toasty and warm, we can start taking some actions. And I have a ton of stuff that I want to get done, a lot of building that I want to do. And for that, we're going to need some wood. Now we start with 6 wood, which is pretty good. And I actually think I want to start building right away with that wood. So we're going to use one of our workers. Now, our children can't take actions, not under normal circumstances. There's a couple ways we can get around that. One way we could get around it is by using one of our citizen cards. We can use one of these per round. And as you can see here, I have 2 for children meeples. So this will allow us to use our child meeple to take an action. It's usually sort of not quite as good as a normal action. So we might think about doing that at some point. The other thing we could do is pass a law that would enable child labor. I don't think that's something I want to do right now, and we'll talk more about passing laws in just a little bit. For now, I'm just going to use one of my worker meeples, and we're going to put them here into this spot, which is the building action. And we basically get 3 sub-actions, and we can use those 3 sub-actions to build a building or to dismantle a building. And I want to start right away by building 3 buildings. Now, this building action is always considered heated. So no matter what our heating situation was, no matter where we're building these buildings, it's always going to be considered heated, so there'll be no sickness. The 3 buildings I want to build right away are this gathering post, this factory, and this workshop. The cost to build is shown right below it, so the gathering post and the workshop cost 1 wood each. The factory costs 2. Below that, it shows the cost to improve those buildings. Now, the factory and the workshop actually can't be improved. That's what the little diamond next to the name means. Improving it does nothing. The gathering post can be improved. Basically, it just takes it from a yellow building to a red building, which means you're just making it more insulated. But we don't have to worry about that yet. Now, I want to put the gathering post here. Oh, let's spend our 4 wood. Don't want to forget that. I'm going to put the gathering post right there. Now, you can see these tiles. There's 2 spaces on each tile. If we were to build this on a space with resources, the resources would go away. So I think we want to put that right there, and you'll see why in a second. Let's go ahead and put this factory over here. And let's put the workshop right there. And there we go. That was our building action. I'll discuss each of these buildings when we use them. And in fact, I'm going to use one right away. I'm going to use this factory. Now you can see this little mark there in the lower left-hand corner. That means that you have to use an engineer to use this building. You cannot use just a regular worker. So we're going to have to take one of our blue engineers and place it on the building. Now, right now you can see these far tiles are not heated, but because it's a red building and that is heated, then it's fine. This is going to be a warm action, no sickness. And what the factory lets us do is to spend a steam core to create an automaton. And because we're playing a Society 2, we start with a steam core. So we're going to spend that, and we're going to get this awesome machine. These automatons are fantastic because they can do actions just like a worker. They cannot go to buildings or take actions that require an engineer, but they can function just like a worker, except you don't have to feed them, they don't get cold. The only thing you have to do is when you use them, you have to spend a coal. This thing's going to go right into my worker supply. We can use it this turn. And I really want to get some robots out because we have fewer citizens. So we're going to be taking a lot less actions. Getting these automatons out is really going to help us be able to get some stuff done, even with our smaller population. And because of the random layout of the board, 2 steam cores appeared. Steam cores can be kind of rare, and so having these on the board early means we can pump out these automatons right away, and I think that's going to be very valuable for us. And in fact, let's get this robot to work right away, because I want it to start uncovering some snow. And that's this action down here. So you just place it over here. Now, normally, uncovering snow is always a cold action. So no matter what, you're always going to get a sick worker. But because we're using automaton, no sickness. Now, it does mean we have to spend a coal, right? We have to use a coal to get it to work. And when we uncover snow, we can either uncover 2 of these near tiles or 1 of the far tiles. And I'd like to do 2 nears. You have to pick where it's going to go before you look at it. And so I want it to go 1 come here, 1 go right there. Those are where we're going to explore. So let's see what we find. Okay, a little wood. Okay, and the same thing. So now we'll just populate these. Okay, that's actually fantastic because that's going to really help our gathering post. fact, I say let's go ahead and use that gathering post right now. So we're going to take a worker and go right here. Now, it's a yellow building. Normally that would be cold, but because it's on this second ring, that's heated. So again, no sickness. And these gathering posts are fantastic because what it's going to do is it's going to collect resources on all of the surrounding tiles. Normally, if you go to collect a resource as an action, like for instance, I could send a worker out here to collect resources, you're going to get to collect 2 of them, and that's it. Using the gathering post, we can collect resources on this tile and all surrounding tiles. And in fact, you do each space on each surrounding tile. It can be a little confusing, but check it out. Here's what it's going to do. We're going to get to collect 1 from that spot, there, and there. On this tile, 1 here, and here. And then down here, 1 there, and there. We get to collect 1 from every space on each surrounding tile. So we just, for 1 action, collected a ton of stuff. And that's great because we need to build some houses. Right now, our people have nowhere to really sleep. They can't sleep in these other buildings. They need proper places to sleep. Or they're going to have to sleep out in the cold and get sick. Now here on our board, you can see there's 3 different types of houses. We have tents, bunk houses, and then proper houses. And it's just one of the 3 different colors. The thing that we need to keep in mind is there is a storm coming. At the beginning of the game, we put the storm marker on the 12 position. Each round, it has the potential of moving towards us, either 0 to 2 spaces. This is our round tracker, so as we move, this storm is going to be approaching. The first time the storm marker hits us, all of our tents that we've built will become ruined. Then we'll reset the storm marker, the storm will hit again, and then all of our bunkhouses are going to get destroyed. So we have to make a decision. Do we spin less wood and get those tents out, knowing that they're going to get destroyed later? Or do we skip ahead a little bit, spend a little extra wood, but build more secure buildings? It's kind of a difficult question, to be honest, and I'm not sure what the right answer is. Okay, I think I want to pass a law. Now, the way you do that is you go to this building right here. I believe it's called the platform. And once again, you can see it requires an engineer. So we'll put our engineer right there. And that's going to let us pass one of the many laws that we have. Now, there are sort of 8 basic laws that you start with, and then you get 4 sort of additional advanced laws at random. And there's a bunch of them here. I'm not going to go over all of them. Here's the child labor one. Now, instead of doing child labor, we're going to instead build a child shelter. That's going to be the law that I want to pass. Now, a few things happen. If you look right here in the upper right, it shows discard law 1. So some of these laws are sort of paired off, where if you pass one of them, you can't pass the other. And that's the case with child shelter. We actually have to discard child labor. We are not going to be able to do that this game. I'm fine with that. That makes people very unhappy, and I'd rather our children not be working. The next thing that happens is shown right here. It shows plus, and that symbol means one of our hope tokens. So we get to gain a little bit of hope, and we could do that in one of 2 ways. We could either draw a new token, which will come in unactivated, deactivated, or we could activate one of the tokens we already have. And I'd like to activate one of our motivations. I think that's going to help us in the long run. Okay, now it says children will be safer if they stay in child shelters during the day, and they won't cause any mischief. Unlock the child shelter building. The child shelter costs 2 wood to build. When this law is introduced, you may immediately build the child shelter by paying its cost. And that is exactly what I want to do. So let's spend 2 wood, and we get this special building, the child shelter. Now, the cool thing about the child shelter is it can house up to 4 child meeples. Now, we only have 1, but we might get more children later, and this will be a good place for them to stay. The other good thing about the child shelter is it's going to stay throughout the entire game. It's going to survive the storms. So for just 2 wood, we're getting a building that will last for the entire game. So I think that's well worth it. Let's go ahead and just build it right... let's build it right here. Sort of put it in the back there. Now, the last thing we need to do is shown at the bottom of the card. Since this is the L2, the law number 2, we go into this deck right here, this law deck. And there are going to be 2 cards that are L2. L2A and L2B. We shuffle these, we discard one of them at random, and we place the other one into our dusk deck. That'll be an event that could potentially come up during the dusk phase. Now, we have 2 more actions, essentially. And I don't think I have enough wood to do what I want to do. So we need to go out and collect a little bit more wood. So let's just have this worker come to this massive spot of wood. Because it's close to the generator, it's heated. Going to this was also heated, right? And so when we go to a spot to collect resources, we only get to take 2. And then I think we'll finish up our actions by building. That's always heated. And I think I want to build 2 tents. Those each cost 2 wood. And we have 2 spaces here right next to the generator that are empty. So those are good spots for these tents since they're yellow buildings and hard to heat up. Keep in mind that this spot right here is not a legitimate spot to build on. That's what this little road here means, and you'll see why. We could also build on these 2 spots, but we want to clear out those resources first before we do that. Now, that was 2 sub-actions. I actually have a 3rd sub-action, and I do have 1 more wood left, so I think we will just go ahead and build a hunter's hut for 1 wood. The hunter's hut is a building that we could go to get 4 food, and it's also going to generate us a little bit of food along the way. Okay, there we go. We only have our child meeple left. We could use one of our citizen cards. We can't use this one because this needs a medical post or an infirmary. We haven't built that yet. And this would be a remove snow action, but sort of a special thing. Yeah, okay. I guess this makes sense to do. We'll go ahead and do this. So, basically going to play this card, and that's going to allow us to use that child meeple to do this action. It says remove snow, but it's a special action. It says reveal 3 of the far tiles and then place them either on top or bottom of the stack. So we can do a little hunting here in the far pile. So let's see what we got here. Okay, for coal. Oh, okay. 2 of the trees and 3 coal. And then this one has, 5 food and then just 2 wood. Tell you what, I think we'll go like that and we'll just put them back on top. Okay, excellent. And once again, we can only play 1 of these cards each round. So that was our play for today, but we're out of meeples. And let us not forget, that was a cold action, right? Removing snow is always a cold action. So one of our children is actually going to get sick. And we mark that with that token right there. 1 illness is not going to be too bad, so I think we're okay. And there we go. That is the end of our first action phase. We're now going to go to the dusk phase. We take the dusk deck, and I like to shuffle it each time. And we draw 1 card. Oh, and we got Distrust. So we knew that this might be coming, and we've actually prepared for it perfectly. It says if you have more hope tokens than discontent tokens, which we do, then you may exhaust 1 hope to perform the corresponding effect. So what we can do now is we can exhaust our motivation and actually reuse a worker. using this gathering post again makes a lot of sense. There we go. Now, when you've activated a social dispute, you can see that little red symbol right there. This actually goes out of the game. But there's always going to be at least one social dispute in the deck. So we need to add the next one in. So we're going to be adding in doubt. Inaction breeds doubt. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you have more active hope than active discontent, choose one. Ooh, upgrade one small building for free would be really nice. But if we don't have more active hope, then we're going to either have to lose 2 workers, 2 engineers, and 1 child, or place 3 stress cubes on the stress track. Okay. That's not horrible, honestly, but that's good to know. Now, when you add a social dispute card, you would shuffle in all the discards into the main deck. Now, we don't have anything discarded, so we're just going to be shuffling this into the main deck. And I like to just do the shuffling right before I draw the card. And there you go. That's the dusk phase, all complete. We now move on to phase 8, the hunger phase. Now, if we had any residual hunger, if that red marker were somewhere out there, then we would need to get rid of that hunger right now. Our hunger's at 0, so we can skip that. We now need to feed our people. And the people that we feed depends on which round we're in. As you can see here, we're in round 1, and if you look up here, that's the symbol for the children. So this round, we need to feed the children. We currently have 4 children, so we need to spend 4 food. There we go. That was the hunger phase, nice and simple. Now we go to the final phase of the round, the night phase. We're going to return all of our meeples. And now our meeples need to find a place to sleep. So we have the child shelter, so our child is fine. We have 2 tents, and you can see each of them can hold 2 meeples. So that means 4 of our 6 remaining meeples are fine. 2 meeples are going to be sleeping outside and get sick. So I say let's just have one of our workers and one of our engineers get sick. Since the rest are in heated buildings, and our buildings are heated, then they're fine, they don't get sick. And there you go, that's the night phase. We are done with round 1. So we go all the way up to the dawn phase. We move the round marker forward. If we had any triggers or anything, if the round marker, for instance, had moved onto this location, we would resolve whatever the triggers were for any events or things like that. Right now, we don't have anything like that, so we're good to go. We can just move on to the morning phase. In the morning phase, we just reveal one of these morning cards. So let's see what we got. A prophet. A child is having intense visions. Some people believe that she is a prophet, that her words provide hope and should guide us in these terrible times, not yours. Others say she is controlled by her mother to coax food and fuel donations from her followers. What will you do? So now we have a choice. We have 3 choices here. Our first choice says, as long as she speaks our words, we can allow it. We will meet with her mother and make a deal about what exactly needs to be said. So if we spend 3 resources or 6 food, we can actually decrease our discontent. That would mean remove one of these markers. And then we would just get rid of this event. Okay, so that seems good. Or we could do number 2. The impossible is possible. We shall let her continue for the sake of those who find comfort in her prophecies. That would give us +1 hope, which would be really nice. Again, we could either get a new token or flip one of these. But we'd have to add an event, D22, to the Dusk deck. What could that event be? We don't know. Something will happen. It could be good, it could be bad. Hard to say. Or we could do number 3, she must be stopped. We will meet with her mother and order her to put an end to this pitiful charade. But that would cause +1 anger And we'd have to add a different event, number 23, to the dust deck. Ooh boy. Getting rid of a discontent would be quite good. Although, I would also really love number 2. I tell you what, we're going to do number 2, save our food. We're going to get +1 hope. And we'll add D22 to the dusk deck. So you go into this deck, you just find D22. There we go. That will get shuffled in. And we get to discard this and get +1 hope. And I would actually like to flip motivation again. Okay, there we go. That was the morning phase. On to the generator phase. Now at this point, we can add more fuel to our generator. If I don't add any more fuel, you can look at the difference here between where the heat is and where the cold marker is. And anything that's revealed between that type of worker is going to get sick. So in this case, it's a worker, that type of meeple, right? Or citizen, I should say, right? So that type of citizen, one of our workers would get sick. But I actually think I'm going to spend a coal to increase that. And now no one gets sick. We've made it warm enough, nobody additionally gets sick. Now we have to drop some coal into the generator because this is a cube tower. And the number of coal we have to drop is shown right here, 3. So we take 3 coal cubes from the supply, from the bank, not from our supply. And we just drop it in here. We then pull out this tray and see how many fell through. And it sounds like all 3 did. Okay. Sometimes these will get stuck in there. We then place those over there. That's representing damage being done to the generator. And if that area fills up with cubes, then the generator is going to break down. And so every once in a while, we're going to need to go to this spot right here and remove some of those cubes, basically working on the generator, repairing it, keeping it maintained. Right now, though, we're okay. It's not a big deal. At the end of this phase, though, you reset the heat marker all the way down. And there we go. That was the generator phase. Now we go to the weather phase. Very simple. We just draw the top card from the weather deck. And it's going to tell us which of these markers to increase. So we move up the temperature 1. And we're moving up this yellow marker 1. But these 2 are staying right where they are. As the game goes on, it gets harder and harder to heat things up, because the temperature is getting colder and colder and colder. We then look here. We're going to be getting 1 food for every one of those hunting symbols that we have on buildings. And we did build a hunter's hut, and we have 1 of those symbols. So we actually just get 1 food. This middle area there is for exploration. If we had sent workers out on one of these expeditions, they would get to move. But we can't do that until we build the beacon. So for right now, we can skip that. And then this is showing that the storm marker is going to move 2 spaces towards us, unfortunately. There we go. That's the weather phase done. We're now going to go to the preparation phase. Now, at the beginning of the game, you get to pick from several different advisors. And for this game, I chose the foreman advisor. Now, what she can do is, if you exhaust motivation, which I will do right now, again, it's optional, they're going to allow me to place a near tile out. And if all the near tiles had been placed, then I could place a far tile instead. So I'm going to basically get a free remove snow action here. And I want to put it right there. Okay, not too bad. 1 wood and 2 coal. Now that's something that we'll be able to do every preparation phase, not just this one. But of course we have to have activated motivation in order to do it. Now we have to resolve our sickness. For right now it's really easy. As long as none of our sickness markers are past that 4, then nothing happens. Once you start getting more sickness over that 4, then bad things start happening. People start getting gravely ill. They can start dying. You'll probably see that here later in the game, but for right now, we've managed our sickness just fine, and so there's no more consequences. And we can move on to our second action phase. So there you go. That was essentially a full round of play. We're going to basically just keep doing that over and over again. So let's see what we want to do. I like to start by just heating things up a bit. So let's spend 3 coal. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So now orange buildings and red are heated, and this middle space is heated, so that's good. I want to immediately send our robot out here to collect this steam core. Normally that would be a cold action, but they don't get cold. But you do have to spend a coal to activate them. And now we can send an engineer over to the factory. Again, it's warm. We'll use that to get another automaton. Oh man, I love these things so much. I think I want to send this automaton that we just built to remove some snow. Let's do the 2 inner tiles. I think we'll do those 2 spots right there. See what we get. Okay. All right, that could have been better. These 2 trees here, I haven't talked about these trees. We also have 2 trees over here. The main thing you can do with those trees is you could build a sawmill nearby and cut them down for wood. I actually have a slightly different idea of what I want to do with those trees. Maybe we'll get to that here in a little bit. I think we definitely want to go to the workshop. Once again, we have to have an engineer to use the workshop. And the first time you go to the workshop, you get to do something special. You get to start work on one of your technologies. Now, we have several technologies here. A lot of them seem very useful. But I think this charcoal kiln upgrade is what we need. It says that whenever you use a charcoal kiln, you may remove a tree from any map tile instead of spending 1 wood. You take one of these tokens, and you can see here it shows 4 times. So we then are going to place it 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. So if we do nothing else, we'll then be able to get this technology in 4 rounds. We can actually use the workshop, though, to speed that up a bit. Now you can see there the charcoal kiln is a type of building where you can convert 1 wood into 4 coal. You can then upgrade it and then convert 1 wood into 5 coal. Now what this technology is going to let us do is to actually, instead of using the wood, tear down trees that are around and use that. That's going to be incredibly useful for us because if we're building a bunch of these automatons, we're going to need a lot of coal. There's a bunch of different ways to sort of get coal. You can see here on the board, the coal is already kind of running low. We have quite a bit stored up, but you're going to run out of coal fast. You need some sort of solution for getting coal. I think using these charcoal kilns are going to be our solution. Okay, now we actually get to use the workshop, and you can do 2 different things with the workshop. You basically have 2 sub-actions, and you can either use that to upgrade a building or to research, to increase your research, basically moving the thing that you're researching 1 step closer to you, speeding up development of that technology. And that's what I want to do. I want to spend both of my sub-actions to just make that happen a little faster. Okay, there we go. Very good, very good. Oh, I'm feeling like I might have forgotten to spend a coal when I used... Well, I'll spend it now. I think I might have forgotten. Maybe I didn't, but we'll spend it there just to be on the safe side. It's hard to... Sometimes I forget that when you use one of these guys, you have to spend a coal. I think we're going to have to do some exploration. So let's use a worker. They're going to get cold. And we're going to do a far tile. We're going to do a far tile right here. Now we saw what that was. That's going to be 4 coal. I now want to use this gathering post. So we'll get Not as much stuff, but a little bit. And now we have enough wood to build a few things. So let's bring our worker down here. And let's build 3 things. Now, what do we want to build? We want to build another gathering post. We want to build another hunter's hut. Yeah, maybe we need to build a medical post. Yeah, I think we might. So that's going to be 4 wood. Okay, these hunter's huts can go on the far corners. We want the medical post kind of close. And we want the gathering post right here. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to get rid of that wood, but I think that's going to be okay. And now we have 1 engineer left. What do we want to do with that engineer? You know what? I think we'll just go to the medical post. We have to take an engineer there, and we get to do 3 healing actions. So this is the way that you can reduce some of your sickness. Ooh, actually, wait a minute. I just noticed we have this citizen card here. We could use this child on the medical post, and rather than curing 3, we'll just get to cure 2. I think that's well worth it. And now we still have this engineer who could do something. Let's pass a law. Let's pass a law. We're here. Let's pass a law. New faith is interesting. That would let us activate 1 hope of each type. And we do have 2 different types there, so we could activate those 2. That would be useful. Yeah, let's do that. We're going to do the new faith. Now, the first thing that happens there is we have to get rid of Law 7, which is the new order. That would have let us exhaust 1 discontent of each type. Of course, ours are all exhausted already, so that wasn't going to help us. So we got to get rid of that. Can't do this anymore. We'll get to activate motivation and justice. It says, with the introduction of the new faith, all who voice doubts will be branded enemies of the faith. Everyone must be devoted to the survival of our cause. All those who do not follow will be swept aside. Okay. Now we have L8, so we're going to get both of those. Random one's going to get added to the event pile. And there we go. We are out of workers, so we are done with the action phase. Okay, time for dusk. Let's shuffle these up. And what's our event? Oh no, the flames of the new faith. Okay, this law is coming to get us right away. The new faith burns bright in the hearts of our citizens, at least in the hearts of those who believe in it. Those fervent flames scorch the non-believers, often causing misery and trouble. Oh boy. If all of your discontent tokens are exhausted, which they are, hooray, you may exhaust all hope tokens of 1 type. For each token you exhaust, apply the following effect. Yes. Okay, so if we were to exhaust the justice, we could take 1 resource from the map and place it in supply. That's not horrible. We could take this steam core. Or if we exhaust motivation, we could build a 1 wood cost building for free. Yeah, I tell you what, we're going to exhaust justice and take this steam core. That way we don't have to send a robot out there to do it. That'll give us an extra action. Very nice. And now here's the thing. This card doesn't get discarded. It's going to stay, we're just going to put it in the discard pile, and it could potentially get shuffled back in and keep happening over and over again. So now we know we really want to keep our discontent exhausted. Now we're going to the hunger phase. We have no hunger, so now we just need to feed our people. Here in the second round, we need to feed our engineers. And you can see we have 13 of them, but we only have 9 food. So we're going to spend all of our food, and the 4 food that we're missing is going to go into hunger. Now that's no big deal. Nothing happens. We're going to be able to deal with that hunger during the next hunger phase. If for some reason we weren't able to, then something bad would happen. But for now, we're fine. We're going to go to the night phase. All of our citizens come back. And our robots. And now we have to house everyone. We have the same housing situation as before. Of course, our robots don't need houses, so that's another reason they're so awesome. Let's go ahead and we're going to do 1 and 1 again, I think. Up to the dawn phase. Advance the round counter. We didn't land on any tokens, so nothing happens. Boom, morning phase. The birth of gambling. There were plenty of things to take the burden off of one's mind back in the old world. There's far fewer now. But some citizens have started to organize gambling nights. They bet everything. Personal belongings, food rations, sleeping spots, and even their work duties. Activate greed. Now we have greed here. That's what this hand token is, so we got to activate it. And now we have a choice. Number 1, let them have their thrills, but under one condition. Only personal belongings can be used for gambling. So only if we had active justice, which we don't, that's the only way we could do that. So we're not able to choose that one. Number 2, let them do it. They are adults. So that's -1 discontent. And then we'd add an event. Or 3, gambling will do no good. Order them to stop. That would be +1 anger. I really don't want to do that, so let's do number 2, -1 discontent. Now, once again, with -1 discontent, we could either deactivate that greed that just got activated, or we could get rid of one of those tokens. I say let's get rid of that token altogether. And event card 45 goes into the deck. That'll probably be bad. Okay, generator phase. Do we want to spend a coal to prevent one of our engineers from getting sick? Sure, let's do that. We gotta put 3 cubes into the tower. Oh, they all fell out. I heard that. Oh no, only 2. So 1 got stuck. Weather phase. All right, everything's going up 1. 1, 1, 1, and 1. This should have gone down. We're getting 1 food for every one of these symbols, and we have 2 of them now, so that's 2 food. We don't have anyone on expeditions, and look at that. The storm marker is not moving, so that's a good thing. Preparation phase. You know what? Let's spend this active motivation again to use our foreman advisor to place 1 near tile. Let's just go down here. I don't think it really matters. Oh, wow. So you can see here, 2 more food was found. Get that immediately, and then just a steam core. Ooh, okay. Looks like we're going to be getting even more automatons. I love it. I love it. Resolve our sickness. Our sickness is fine, so we don't have to do that. Boom, on to our 3rd action phase. Okay, now this is the round where we need to build the beacon, because we're going to be heading over here, and so we need to build the beacon. We need 3 wood to do that. Before I do anything, let's have this robot, and we'll spin the coal, to explore that far tile right there. There should be some wood and some food, yes. So 5 food. I think we're going to need to spend some coal to heat things up a bit. We got to spend 4 coal to heat up this inner ring. Yeah, which I need to do. So let's spend 4 coal. Now we can use the gathering post for a warm action. And now we're having coal problems right out of the gate here. Oh boy. Yep, things are getting a little tight. think I want this robot. It's going to cost us a coal. To do one more explore up here. Let's then have a worker use this gathering post. So we're going to be getting that wood, that, and that. Okay, that's 4 wood. So we can build the beacon. Before we build, though, it would be nice to have a little bit more wood. Well, let's make another robot. Oh, he's active. Let's spend a coal. We'll have him explore these 2. Okay. We do want some more wood. Send a worker here to get it. Now we can build. I think I want an engineer to build. We're going to build the beacon. Let's build that up here. That costs 3 wood. We want to build a charcoal kiln. That's 1. That's an orange building. Let's just go ahead and put it here. And then we have one more build action. Or we could also destroy something. Like, we could destroy this gathering post since it's not really useful anymore. Better to build something, I think. Another hunter's hut wouldn't be bad. I definitely want to save a wood. Another hunter's hut. That's not the worst thing in the world. Okay. We'll build another hunter's hut. Keep on top of that food. And that can go right there. Okay. Now that we've built the beacon, we can also send people out on these expeditions as an action. I don't want to do that, I don't think. I think what I want to do is go to this workshop. I have to use an engineer. I want to use one of my 2 sub-actions to upgrade the charcoal kiln. That's going to cost a wood, as it shows right down there. I'm then going to use my second sub-action to research this and finish it. So now we have the charcoal kiln upgrade. Now, as soon as we finish researching that, we can start researching something else, which is why I wanted to do it right away. Now, this hunting tactics technology is pretty good. During the weather phase, we gain an additional food for every 2 hunting symbols that we have. That will definitely come in handy. Food's going to start to become a pretty big problem. So let's go ahead and get that going. It's also going to take 4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And with this upgrade, we can now remove trees to activate that charcoal kiln. And honestly, that might be what we want to do. We either do that now, or we get rid of that. You know what? I don't want that greed there. So we're going to use this worker, and we're going to use this citizen card. She can go to the platform, and I think let's do that -1 discontent. Boom. Deactivate it. And we can't use that child meeple. I think that's it. I think we're done with our actions. Okay, dusk phase. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Child education, young medics. Thanks to their specialized education, the children can help us with the sick. If the child shelter is built, which it is, for each child meeple, cure 1. All right, we got 1 child meeple, so we can cure 1. Don't mind if I do. Hunger. Okay, so here we have some hunger. So we have to deal with that first. There we go. We dealt with the hunger, so there's no negative effects with that hunger. That's totally fine. Now we need to feed our workers. There's 13. We only have 5 food, so that means there's going to be 8 hunger left over. Once again, that hunger isn't a problem until the next hunger phase. Go to the night. We're in the same sleeping position, so let's just do what we've been doing. 2 illness there. Now we go to the dawn phase, and boom, we have run into this token, and so we need to resolve it. So let's go to our scenario card. It shows round 4, if the beacon is built, go to A. Otherwise, we would have gone to B. So, what does A say? The beacon shines bright. +1 hope or -1 discontent. Let's do a +1 hope. Get that motivation. And now we can reveal and resolve scenario card number 2. Finding Winterhome. The beacon's light guided refugees scattered across the frozen wasteland to our settlement. Among them were scouts from Winterhome. As it turns out, it is the nearest occupied settlement. However, the news they brought us is alarming. They say no other beacons were lit, not even the one at Winterhome. What has happened to Winterhome? So now we get to place scenario 5, white side up in the expedition display, and then we'll choose A or B. Here it is right here, the path to Winterhome. Okay, let's see, what do we want to do? We can let the refugees enter our city. That'd be +1 hope. We'd gain 5 workers, 1 engineer, and 3 children. Or we can send them back to look for another place to live. That would be -1 hope. You know what? No, we're going to let them in. We're going to let them in. So that's going to be +1 hope. We could activate a hope. I think this time, let's get a new hope token. So what we do is we take the hope bag that has the hope tokens in, and we grab one at random. Okay, we got another justice, and it comes in on its inactive side. We now are going to add 5 workers, 1 engineer, and 3 children to our supply, and that's changed a couple of things. With the worker and the children, we've actually crossed the threshold into getting additional meeples. So our population's increased, our food requirements have increased, and our housing requirements have increased, but we'll also get to take a couple of additional actions. So that's pretty cool. And now we can just get rid of this card. Now it's telling us that we need to put this onto round 11. And once we get there, we'll activate that. And now we have this cool new expedition that we can go on to try to get to Winterhome and basically see what has happened there. It's definitely something that we're going to want to try to accomplish. But for now, we're done with the dawn phase. We're going to go right to the morning phase. Let's see what's befallen us. Comfort the sick. There's been talk amongst our people. They want better conditions for those in need. It is probably what helped us survive in the first place. We took care of the weak and the sick. We can either promise that you will take care of it. That's going to give us +1 care. Care is the hope token that we actually don't have right now. And then we would place this card in our display. And you can see here there's a little worker placement spot there. So during the action phase, each time we perform this action, we'll take 1 or more wood and or coal from the supply and place it on this card. The reason that we would do that is that it probably has to do with that event. So when that event comes up, it's going to ask us how many supplies have we put on this card. Now, we could also just ignore this demand, but that would be +1 discontent. Well, I'm trying really hard to control the morale of our citizens, and so I don't want to ignore this demand. So let's go ahead and do option number 1. We'll tell them that we'll take care of it. I'll place it here for now. I don't have a lot of room, so... Now, we get +1 care. Now, So far, you've seen what happens when it's just +1 hope or +1 -1 discontent. When it specifies exactly what type of hope or discontent, it works a little bit differently. You actually draw a new token. So because it says +1 care, we're going to draw a token, no matter what. Aha! And we were lucky. We actually got the care token. Now, in addition to drawing the token, if we have deactivated care, we can now flip it. And since we just drew one, now we can flip it to its active side. That was very useful, and now let's add 7 to there. So hopefully the event won't come up in a while, or maybe we'll just try to take care of this right away. Who knows? Okay, that was our morning phase. Generator phase. We're running a little low on coal, so I think I'm gonna actually not add any more coal and just let one more child get sick. The children have a place to sleep, so their sickness is probably gonna be pretty much under control. By doing that, we only have to drop 3 into the tower. We know there's one stuck in there. The worst that this could be is 4, so we're not in danger of busting the generator yet. Ooh, it sounded like quite a few got stuck there. Nope. 3 came through. 1 is still stuck in there. We're going to have to deal with that next round, because that is getting close to blowing up. And now the weather phase. Oh, everything's increasing 1. That's not great. We're getting 1, 2, 3 food now. But the storm marker's not moving, so that's better than it could have been. Preparation phase. And we do have an active motivation, so let's use our foreman again. Looks like there's one more near tile that they can do. Okay, a bit of a coal reserve over there. That's not ideal. Our sickness is fine again. Everything's under 4, so we can just move on to the next action phase.